Check this.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, or a minute or two after that anyway. And I'm Lee Bailey, your host, of course, for Be Encouraged. We're glad that you've tuned in to watch. And we have some special guests today. First of all, at 4:45 coming up will be Tara Fleming Hager. We'll be on at 4:45. But first, we have a sergeant from the Fairfax County Police Department. I believe he's from the public relations part of the county police department. But his name is... let's see here, Scott, and it's Sergeant Scott, and I forget his last name. I'm sorry. Thought I wrote it down. Yes, I did. Sergeant Scott Reynolds. There you go. I knew I wrote it down somewhere. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Sergeant Scott Reynolds, thank you, buddy, for being on with us. I appreciate it. And, I got to say, hats off to the Fairfax County Police Department. You guys are one of the best departments in the country, and we really appreciate you coming on with us to answer any questions that we might have about what's going on as far as the COVID is concerned, and maybe some other things we might talk about. But for first, let's talk about, you were telling me that on the Fairfax County government website /what can they find out all the COVID information they're going to need to have here in the county?
Yeah, so all of our safety tips and general information on COVID-19, they can go to www.fairfaxcounty.gov/COVID-19.
Okay. And then they'll be able to get all the information that you guys have accumulated from various sources and whatnot, to tell people what the best way to handle being safe. What my question, I guess, now is, how are the officers keeping themselves safe? What are you guys doing with the officers to kind of remind them to stay safe? You mentioned something earlier before we went on the air about the fact that you've done some stuff virtually when, charges or something like that, maybe that didn't have to have personal contact.
Correct. So our officers are encouraged to, practice these general safety tips, like wear face coverings, wash your hands, use sanitizer, practice safe social distancing of about 6 feet. When it comes to traffic stops, regular calls for service, those kind of things, we're still responding to those. In terms of, general calls for service or, report only calls, we're encouraging people to do those over the phone or online. We have more officers that are, staffed to be able to take these online reports and follow up.
Do you have more officers that are at the dispatch center over in Fairfax, over off of West Ox, to handle calls? Because normally I think you have one guy that's there that's kind of the intermediary that takes the calls that the call handlers can't really handle. They need a police officer to kind of give them the direction. Do you have more officers over there right now so they can take more calls without having to send officers out?
So certain calls we will still dispatch officers to if it's something that's in progress, or if they're requesting to see a police officer. But a lot of our report only calls, like someone may have lost their wallet while they were out shopping, those kinds of calls are done either online or mostly over the phone.
Sure. Okay. So they can handle those and write a report even of a missing of a lost wallet or whatever it happens to be, like you just mentioned. They can do that over the phone and make a police report without having to meet with the citizen himself or herself.
Correct. Yeah, but if a citizen still wants to talk
to see somebody, right,
then we will, try to accommodate that.
Sure, I understand that. Also, I mean, I can imagine many different scenarios where it just really requires a police officer to come out and be present to, like, a hit and run in the parking lot. Somebody backs into a car and drives off. Those kind of things that people see. They want an officer to come and write the report and see the damage and that kind of thing. So,
and
I foresee that.
We still respond to many accidents and hit and run accidents and so forth.
Yeah. Is there anything that you guys have curtailed because of COVID? Is there any operations that, this is just something that just occurred to me, is there anything that you guys normally do on a regular basis, but you've curtailed that to keep your officers safe?
We're still, operating as normal. Some different entities within our department have, been encouraged to telework.
Like what?
So, like some of our detectives and investigators that are able to, and some of our, positions like that. But obviously, we still have patrol officers and, canine and other specialties that are out and about still responding to all of our calls for service.
Right. But interviews and things like that can be done via the phone that don't have to have a face-to-face contact. Then you can do those, like you just said, virtually.
Correct. Yeah. People have been doing stuff virtually. Okay. In some of the things too, in Fairfax County, the health and safety of our residents and visitors is among our highest priority. Certainly COVID-19 is a public health issue affecting all of us. Our police officers and public health workers have worked very hard to help educate the community and the risks associated with things such as congregating in large groups.
Right.
We are strongly encouraging everyone to continue to practice safe social distancing and follow restrictions that are designed to keep all of us safe.
Right. So when they come to these, so when you guys get those calls that you're getting now, I'm sure you get somebody who's, I'm not going to label anybody, but you get somebody who gets worried about 10 or 11 teenagers hanging out together and calls the police department and says, there's people that are hanging out together. They shouldn't be doing this. The officers show up and to kind of tell everybody to disperse. Is that something now with this phase 2? What's the legality as far as group gatherings?
So we always try to, when we get those types of calls, when people say there's a large number of people congregating, we try to educate first and then seek voluntary compliance.
Right.
And enforce if necessary. We haven't had to enforce anything yet.
Good. Okay, that's good. So I guess the other question I was just had in my head there, Sergeant, was so you said we've curtailed some face-to-face stuff with the detectives because they can do the interviews over the phone with witnesses and or possible help.
Well, sometimes they can do phone interviews. If it's something where they need to do a face-to-face interview, like a suspect interview or an interview with a victim, they are trying to practice and maintain safe social distancing if they
wear masks,
wearing face coverings, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, no.
A lot of reports that can be done over the phone or online. People are encouraged to do that online or over the phone rather than, have an officer in person come take something like that. If it's an in-progress call, like a domestic or, a fight in progress or shoplifting, we still are responding to all those calls like normal.
Sure. So here's one of the questions I wanted to ask. Have we had any problems of any of our officers come down with COVID? I'm just curious. I know we don't, obviously, I don't know what kind of privacy issues there are. We don't want to mention anyone's names or anything like that, but have we had an issue with that with the Fairfax County Police? How many of our officers do we need to hold up in prayer, as I might say, and, make sure that they're doing okay? Have you had any officers who've contracted COVID?
I
don't
know.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure on that one. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. No, I mean, that to me, that's a good news, because if there'd been several officers, you probably would have found out by now. So, that's good though. I'm glad that our officers are being safe, and I'm glad that they're remaining healthy. That's excellent. That's definitely something I wanted to ask about. I also wanted to ask you a little bit about the current vibe in the country, as far as Fairfax County is concerned. Obviously, when you're dealing with people who have issues and stuff like that, you have to be a little bit more firm than you would be with your average citizen. But I've always seen Fairfax County act really professionally. But how has it affected the department and your officers? All of this stuff about police brutality and things like that. How has that helped? Have you heard of anything where officers have been getting any grief? I know that they've had several demonstrations in the area, which you guys have obviously responded to do crowd enforcement and make sure that everybody's staying cool and not doing anything illegal. How has that been going for you guys?
So in terms of, the demonstrations, we've been fortunate here in Fairfax County to have a very engaged community with, support and partnership between our officers, residents, business owners, regarding all the potential demonstrations. We've been in communication with various stakeholders and working together to ensure that these kinds of events in Fairfax County are peaceful and safe for the demonstrators' voices to be heard, while also maintaining public safety in our community.
Right. And so the answer to the question, though, have you guys encountered anything that's been dangerous for our officers or dangerous for, not necessarily, the citizenry? I mean, you see in some areas of the country where they're looting. We haven't had any issues like that, have we?
So we haven't had any issues like that. No, all of our stuff so far has been peaceful and safe for everyone.
And a lot of that, I'm going to have to say, it goes to the citizenry, but a lot of that goes credit to our Fairfax County police officers, because, if you show up in a defensive position, and that just gets people fired up, and your guys have obviously handled all the situations pretty well, and I think that's what keeps it peaceful. And that's one of the reasons why I like the Fairfax County Police so much. You guys take really good care. Most of the jurisdictions actually in this immediate area, and that could be because most of them train in the same location. But so far, I've not heard of anything that's been overtly bad in our Northern Virginia area. So I don't know if you have, but mostly everything's been pretty peaceful, and all the different police agencies who've had to work with and work together and deal with this kind of thing seem to have kept everything on the down low and kept it really nice and quiet. And I mean, people still have their opportunity to, stand up and voice their concerns as they're entitled to do. But they've all done it in a way that's not illegal or not infringing on anyone else's rights. Has that been your experience or what you've been hearing?
Correct. Yeah. And we, encourage all of our support from our community here in Fairfax County.
Okay, great. Well, I can't think of it. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people about COVID, about the police department, or what you guys are doing? Is there anything that you'd like to impart to everybody about what's happening in this pandemic area, and any advice you'd like to relay?
I would just say, if anyone has information on or questions regarding safety tips and just general COVID-19 information, to check out our website that I mentioned earlier, where they can find more information.
Yeah, it's Fairfax County Fairfax County Government.gov, right?
Yeah, fairfaxcounty.gov
/COVID-19. Okay, /COVID-19. Okay. Well, Sergeant Scott Reynolds, man, I appreciate you coming on. We'll have to have you come on another time. We'll talk about other police types of things that go on around the county. I'd love to talk to you about traffic stops, and so we can educate. And my whole purpose is to educate the people watching on what it is the police officer's going through when they do an approach, when they're doing their job. I think it's very important for the communication lines, let people know this is what's happening. When you see this, this is what's happening. This is what you need to do, and so I'd love to. We'll have to have you on more often, Sergeant, to talk about other kinds of police stuff that our community needs to be aware of, because it can help the officers out quite a bit. And just keeping your distance is a big help to a police officer when he's trying to do his job. And those are the kind of things we can impart to people. But so in the future, I'd love to have you back on, Sergeant Scott Reynolds. I appreciate you a lot for coming on today, and thank you for your insight.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. Well, that was great. Love talking to our guys in gray, as we call them around here in Fairfax County, because that's what they're wearing. They wear gray, not blue. And they do a great job. They do a great job here in Fairfax County, folks. And if they ever don't, you always have a way to call them and to check. And unfortunately, in some jurisdictions and stuff like that, there's just no. But these police officers, they know their job and they know what they need to do and how they need to do it. I have another guest on who's going to come on and talk to us about some of the stuff that she's been doing in the community. It's Tara Hager, and I'm so excited to have her on. Tara, hello, and how are you?
Hi, Lee. I have a couple of surprises for you. Your buddy, Tara Soul, myself, Meg Nolan, John K. Woods, and a few others have 2 major fundraisers coming up.
Okay.
July 12th and 19th to help out a lot of the causes that John loves so much, from domestic violence to the homeless shelters to autism, which is one of my prized possessions.
Right.
And the programs we're doing right now for the hospitals and various things. So there will be posts a lot. Look out for social media. And what we need right now is volunteers. We need volunteers to help man the silent auction boards.
Okay.
We also need volunteers to be at the event. So your good buddy Tara and I are teaming up with that event along with silent auction items and things like that. That was my major news for you.
Okay.
What am I doing in the community? Tara asked me to come on along with you because I'm an autism advocate. I am also an independent consultant with 31, which celebrates, encourages, and rewards women and their families. And a lot of the fundraisers I do deal with domestic violence and autism. I'm a mother of 3 special needs autistic children.
Wow.
So I work a lot with the community, helping the community understand more about special education and autism. And a lot of my events work with autistic families. I love being able, this time around with COVID, I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I'm teaching 3rd, 4th, and a sophomore in high school, on top of running sessions for my children on a daily basis.
And your children are those ages you just mentioned?
Correct.
Okay.
They are 15, 10, and 8.
Very good. What school district do you go in? You're homeschooling.
Fairfax County Public Schools.
Are they going to school, or do you have them homeschooled?
They're distance learning right now.
Oh,
we're doing the summer distance learning program. So yeah, I've been teaching them technically through distance learning since March.
Outstanding. Now, at what level, how high functioning? Are they pretty high functioning?
I have
kids?
2 high function. Well, we got to be careful because some parents will get upset with the word high functioning, low functioning.
I know.
All of mine are verbal. They are just some of them are a little bit lower on the spectrum. They also have ADHD and mental health issues on top of it. So yeah, I'm a president of that one. I've got my own mental health issues. So that's another blessing about being at home all the time is I can work in my office. You can tell, Lee, I've got a collection for my children. I also have my beads from one of the programs that John is doing, which is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is one of them, Autism Society, Northern Virginia, Black owners. We're also doing stuff with NAMI, and various things. There's a very long list which will be posted
Tell
on
me NAMI again.
my
What
group.
does NAMI stand for? What does NAMI stand for again?
NAMI is the National Alliance for Mental Illness. It would be the NOVA office.
Okay.
I've worked with a couple of people for one of my children. So I've worked well with NAMI over the last couple of years, and I love helping John out with various causes and things like that, which help me because I'm able to give knowledge about autism and various mental illnesses that sometimes you can't hear unless it's coming directly from an actual live source.
Right.
Sometimes the things you read on the news and everything else are based on science information. I live it day to day. So
no, my wife is a special ed teacher at West Springfield High School. And
then you're actually the opposite district of me. I'm actually Robinson.
Oh, okay. Well, I went to Robinson.
But I do know West Springfield, yeah.
Yeah, no, I also have taught. I'm not taught, but I was a safety and security for Fairfax County Public Schools and Falls Church High School, and at Justice High School. What I was there when it was Jeb Stewart, but
I was gonna say you were there when it was Jeb Stewart, and I was there too because I was an Oakton Cougar. So I'm sorry, these words don't make sense to me right now.
Right. Well, what I was going to mention to you is that I remember I had the privilege of going to a extended learning thing with the safety and security on how does law enforcement deal with people with autism. And it was an outstanding program. I don't know if you've ever worked with them.
I've worked with them. I've been with the safety program they had a couple of years ago with the Fraternal Order Police. I will thank you, Sergeant Rollins, who was just on. I'm very happy with the Fairfax County Crisis Response Team that works well with all the mental illness and special needs kids. I've had them come out to the house on a couple of times when my son's had major meltdowns. But honestly, Fairfax County PD has done extremely well with my kids over the years.
Good.
Even if they're in the neighborhood, because one of them's at Bonnie Bray, the other one's at Laurel Ridge, and one of my other ones is in Private Day in Alexandria. But they don't see the officers as a scare. They see the officers as someone that wants to help them. Right. Oh, and speaking of this, just to let you know, Lee, in 7 minutes at 5 o'clock, John K. Woods at 29 Diner, the Feed a Hero, Be a Hero will be at Burke Volunteer Fire and Rescue Station 14.
Awesome.
Feeding another shift. So I wish I could be there, but John's doing the job, and I am so proud of all his efforts. He has. Yeah. I joke with him. I said, "When do you sleep?"
Yeah, I know.
So.
Well, I live in Lake Braddock's district. My kids go to, actually, both of them will be going to Lake Braddock next year. One just graduated from the AAP program over at Sangster. And so he'll be going to Lake Braddock as a 7th grader. He's excited.
Yeah, I know. It's scary once you hear that word, don't you?
Yeah. So middle school's horrible. It's a horrible time of the educational life of a kid, student, person. Anyway, no matter what. Also for teachers. My wife taught middle school for maybe a year or two and then said, yeah, no, I'm going to go to high school. I can't put up with it. They take things too seriously. She likes to be sarcastic with kids. In middle school, they start crying, when you say something sarcastic to them. So, yeah, anyway, but she's been working with the county for over 25 years. So she's been at West Springfield almost that entire time. What I was going to say to you, though, is I went to this seminar or educational, whatever it was, and they had these 2 gentlemen from the Clark County Sheriff's Department that were running it. And they also had a man come in. He was wearing his fatigues. He's a major, I believe, in the Army. And you probably know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
His son, and he comes and speaks at those things quite a bit. And the first thing he asked us, which I thought was pretty interesting, was he said, "What does every single kid with autism have in common?"
There's many things.
Well, for the police officers, what's the big one? I think is what he was
usually the shutdown and quietness factor.
Well, that also they become adults with autism.
Yeah,
and that was the issue because you're pulling over kids, you're pulling over adults who are autistic, and they're very socially not completely all there all the time. And so they may not understand your commands. They may not know what you want them to do. And when you're pulling up, what did he say? He said, if you're pulling over, well, the sheriff said this, if you're pulling over a car and it's got an autism support bumper sticker, turn your lights off. He said, because there might be somebody in that car who's autistic and can't deal with the flashing lights and things like that.
All three of my kids have part of autism spectrum disorder. They have the issue with the flashing lights, and it puts them into what they call a non-epileptic pseudo seizure or a stress seizure. Yeah. So and my kids, I grew up when the fire department was Station 3 and 33 in that area. I was Fairfax City and also Merrifield. And then with us living in Fairfax, Station 32 and 14, I mean, my kids grew up with 14. So a lot of times when they were younger, it was doing this. They were closing the ears. Now, it varies based on their day, whether or not it's a sensory perception disorder issue or if it's wait a minute, the fire department's going down the street. Where are they?
Yeah, where are they? Let's go watch them. Let's go see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband used to be a volunteer for many years, so once in a while I'd go, no, we're not following the rig. Sorry, we're going home. So, we've had the volunteer chief of 14 has known my kids since they were babies. So, some people, when you see them, when they do the open houses and stuff and they're around and stuff, some of the people that don't know my kids are like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
They have autism. Okay.
Oh, okay. They're autistic, and that's, and it covers a wide range of things.
It does.
One of the things that's been most important for people that I think, maybe it's not that important, but is they have to recognize the difference between being autistic and having some other type of educational difference. Yeah. And I say difference because I am ADHD. I didn't find out until I was 30 years old. But
I didn't find out until I was 24. So
I've always known. But I struggled all through high school, barely skinned by the skin of my teeth, getting through everything. And it's because of homework. It had nothing to do with tests. I aced all my tests all the time. Never had a problem with testing. But I didn't do homework because it was tedious and it was trouble for me. But I knew this. I knew the subject matter. I just listened in class and I knew everything we were doing. But but nowadays I'd be an A student because they don't give homework the same credence that they give testing more credence, which I'm good at. I was always good at. So anyway, so
that's one thing that Fairfax we've noticed with the kids is that the distance learning program, as long as they've got the assignments and can do the work, and I can schedule it where my kids are better in the morning than the afternoon.
Sure.
So,
that's the way it is for a lot of kids, not just autistic kids. So that's the way it is for a lot of people. I know people say they're morning people or they're night owls or whatever. It has nothing to do with autism, really. I mean, that's just people are that way. It's just that it might be more. I don't know if the word's dramatic, but it might be more intensified because of the autism,
Yep. And my kids are early risers, so the sooner I can get their work done and out of the way, it's like, okay, you guys have done your work, let's go play or let's go do something fun.
Turn on the cartoon. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I've learned a lot more over the last couple of years is that a lot of the parents that don't understand autism, or they know the title, but they don't know the basis of it, is that screens are not everything for the kids. Yes, the joke is way back when they were the permanent babysitter. Sometimes the screens are great for them doing stuff and playing games and doing enrichment stuff, but sitting them on the TV for 8 to 12 hours a day, letting them game and stuff, after a while, they get hyper. I've had days where they went from asynchronized learning to doing their homework, and 2 hours later, I'm going, y'all want to knock it down about 5 octaves. So I will say, even with COVID, I'm getting them outside at least 2 or 3 times a day, depending on the weather, just to get them to go outside and go, well, the sun's shining. And it's not the computer.
Oh, the graphics are great out here.
The graphics are better outside than they are sitting in my office. Yeah.
That's right.
One other thing I've noticed is with autism, because I do have 3 special needs kids, is the fear of the mask, and
Oh,
that
really?
there are
Okay.
some kids that can't do it. And I've had to sit in the hospital going, I'm sorry, they're autistic. They can't handle it. Back off.
Yeah, yeah.
And I honestly can say if it wasn't for the executive order right now that's going on, some of my kids would get yelled at. I just had a kid come out of hospitalization because of COVID, and they were having him wear a mask left and right. And I was like, no, sorry.
You know, I got cool masks though. I gotta tell you.
I know, but you got,
and they're better than the mask. Now around the ear. See, I wear this.
That's the thing, is that after a while, this starts irritating their ears.
Yeah.
And
that's why I wear these. I wear
all
these masks.
3 of my kids in the last 3 years have had surgery, have had tonsillitis and adenoid issues, which a lot of autistic kids have. So this, after a while, they're like,
yeah, no, totally get it. Totally get it. I can't stand the stuff around my ears either. Hell, I might be on the spectrum. I don't know. But I know that I wear the masks that have all the different faces on them. And of course, they also have the nasty faces. But I have the good faces like Santa, which I am also. But and all kinds of other faces and like state flags and Don't Tread on Me and the American flag and all these different ones. And I found that I get more stares that way, especially now because everybody's used to seeing the other masks. And I think that stares though are like, hey, I want one of those. You know, that's the mask. That's the stare I think I get more than anything else is people going, hey, where'd you get that?
One of my girlfriends who's and actually with tuning into everything that's going on, a lot of my women that are business owners are showing their masks off. And I have 3 of my girlfriends who have kids on the spectrum or have ADHD, and they're promoting the autism mask that they found online like crazy. I'm like, thank you.
Exactly.
Their support of that and mental health. Autism, the diagnosis technically has always been it's a neurological and behavioral issue. They go hand in hand. It's all here. It goes down eventually, to various things. And that's one thing that I advocate for. Yeah.
It's because I have a man that's a man. He's not a young man even. He's a man who's in our choir at our church, for instance. And he's definitely EGR, which is extra grace required because he's on the spectrum and he doesn't know his social boundaries. And he's a nice guy, though. Super, super nice guy. But that doesn't mean that it's just like, but he's obviously learned a lot of ways over the years of accommodating for himself and knowing how to deal that stuff.
That's the good thing. But then we've got the good thing about that is people, they're trying to get the kids to understand it early. The only bad part is if you don't get diagnosed, like a couple of people I know, until they became adults, the services are not as much out there for the adults that have autism as the kids.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's something we all got to work on. I mean, I know that there's always concerns about autism and shots and all these kind of things. And truthfully, I think from what I've heard from different medical professionals, one, we had a beautiful, wonderful NP at my pediatric office, and we just asked her, what's the deal with them, with the shots? And she goes, my experience, I haven't seen a major something. It's usually something that's right off the bat. And she said, what happens though is you've got so many kids now who are, and I don't mean to disparage anyone here when I say this, but it was interesting to hear her say there's a lot of people who are labeled autistic that aren't autistic, because autistic kids are very, very intelligent. Kids who are on the spectrum and they're autistic are very, very intelligent. But you've got a lot of people who have been getting their kids labeled autistic who are very low and like MR level. But what would you rather your kid be, autistic or MR? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
but here's
that's
the thing,
exactly
is
the
it's
issue.
okay.
No, I know it is. It's like I said, I'm speaking more to the parents who have kids who have
I know
issues and stuff. I'm not I would never say, oh, you're not, no, never say anything like that. I would just go with whatever the family wants. It's like, how do you pronounce your name? Well, I pronounce my name the way I pronounce it, not the way you pronounce it. You might see my name and say it's pronounced this way. Well, I say it's pronounced this way. And guess what? It's my name. So
exactly.
The last say. So that's an odd way of looking at it. But if my kid's autistic, and don't judge me and don't judge my kid and try and change what his label is or her label is. I mean, first of all, I don't like labels. I really wish kids and parents, when parents have kids who are on the spectrum or something like that, when they're talking to another, I guess, caregiver, like a youth group, this has happened with me. I'm a youth group leader. We're going on a retreat. Well, they're bringing a kid that we know already is autistic and has problems, right? We already know that he has issues with social, but we all love him. And we all accept him, and that's why he loves coming to youth group, because everybody there, even the pretty girls, because you can tell he's kind of sweet on a couple of the really, really pretty girls, and they're sweet to him. They're very nice to him. They don't give him anything to think about more than just being friends. But he's a super nice kid. And one day I remember this retreat, the first retreat he ever went on with us. His mom showed up. She brought him, walked him up to us, just us, and starts telling us all his problems that he has. And I'm like, Mom, you can go stand over there and you can tell me. I'm happy for you to tell. To me, it just seemed like, because I could see him kind of doing, I was like, he doesn't need to know that I know, I mean, the things he needs for me to know, that's fine. But also it's just like saying that your kids, I don't know. I just was always really have a hard time when parents are talking about all the problems their kids have right in front of their kids. And it's like, let's not re-emphasize the problems. That's what it was to me. And to me, you're re-emphasizing the problems the child has. And he doesn't need to hear that. And I do, sure, but not with him present. He doesn't have to be around.
That's when you say, hey,
I know, and I did.
Play with so-and-so, and I'll talk to mom and dad.
I grabbed one of my leaders and I said, hey, why don't you and Keith go do something? And he said, okay. He got it immediately. And Keith, come on. And they went over, and then I started talking to her, and I actually admonished her a little bit. I said, I'd rather we wouldn't talk about his problems and his issues in front of him when you're talking to me, just because I feel like it's detrimental to him to talk about all the things. She was talking about all the medicines. This medicine is so he won't kill himself. This medicine. I'm being a little crazy there, and that's not.
Oh, no, it's okay, because I deal with it on a daily basis with my kids, so it's okay.
Like, what? Come on, lady, put the kids over there somewhere and come talk to me, because I do need to know. I need to know about his medicine. I need to know all these things, but I don't need to know. He doesn't need to have it completely, constantly reminding him that he's different than other kids. I'd rather him feel like he's one of us, and I know he's not, and I know he knows he's not. But if we treat him like we treat everybody else, then he gets an idea that, you know what, they don't care about what problems I have, and that's where that all was. And that's what I wish more parents, and you know this as well as I do, because you have.
Oh, yes, I do. And that's one reason why that's one reason why the fundraiser that John's doing is so important. Because having NAMI out there, having Autism Society of Northern Virginia out there, I'm going to be out there, is that, John, even there's days where we've gone in the restaurant a couple of times and John's met all three of my kids. And if I make sure that they sit in an area that if for some reason, the diner is too loud or there's too much communication, I can go look at John or one of the others, go, I'll be right back. I'll be out back for a few minutes. Yeah. And John completely understands it. That's why I think with everything going on with COVID and
a lot of scary stuff.
Domestic violence and homelessness and everything else with COVID happening, that these two major dates, July 12th and 19th, are so important, because the community needs to understand that John works hard every day, along with the rest of us, for education and domestic violence and homelessness. And, the Black business owners that we're dealing with all this stuff with everything going on in the world right now with current events, and be a hero, feed a hero, suicide prevention, things like that, that they need to understand that John's Restaurant is a safe place to take your kids for a fundraiser. You're not going to have, the yelling, the screaming. Yeah, you'll have the diner music and you might have people chit-chatting, but it's not like going into a Dave and Buster's where you've got yelling and screaming, or Chuck E. Cheese. And
not only that, but you got flashing lights. You've got all kinds of
exactly. It's a safe place where you can go.
Overload, absolutely.
It's a safe place where you can go to eat. It's going to be barbecue and it's going to be seafood buffet.
Right.
Proceeds are going to be split between the 2 days through some various charities, and the flyers will be there. Plus, I'm going to post it on my business page, which is Autism Mama Boys. It's going to be on social media. It's going to be in my women's group called Women Business Owners Support the Cause. I can post it. I'll send you the links, Lee, so you can have them. But yeah, it's going to be a fun event. This has been in the making, but I think finally we've gotten everything where we've got dates and everything else, and John is opening the restaurant up, and we're going to have indoor and outdoor seating. So if it's 90 degrees outside and you want to sit out in 90-degree weather, you can sit out there. If you want to go inside and stay cool, stay cool.
Right.
So yeah, but the question of everybody is, we need volunteers there. They can reach out to your buddy Taro or myself. And also anybody that loves doing silent auctions, we're going to be doing a silent auction both days to split the proceeds for it. I myself will be doing it with 31. I've also got some independent women business owners from Sensi and a few others that are going to be bringing stuff along with the Alzheimer's Society and various places. And Arc of Northern Virginia is going to be there too. So.
Nice. Yeah. Spoke with Arc a couple weeks ago. That was great stuff. Well, I appreciate you coming with me, Tara. I appreciate you coming on, talking to us about autism, about other fundraisers going on with the 29 Diner. And I more than appreciate that you have 3 kids that you love and care about. And for a parent, I think the biggest thing is they just want other people to love their kids.
Yes, they do.
Care about their kids, and people do. So that's a good thing. Wouldn't mind meeting them someday. Maybe I'll have to come out to the 29
Come out to the diner. If you're available, come out to the diner one of the 2 days. If my boys aren't there, I'll be there. And I'd love to come back on again and help you later on, coming towards this fall, so that parents can understand how to transition. One of the biggest things we've noticed with autism kids is how to transition their kids from it's summer vacation to get them ready for the fall and what things to look out for.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things too. A lot of parents, I don't know, there's just a lot of parents that don't want to admit that there's going to be a lifetime issue. That's one of the things my wife has run into, and and it hurts her heart. She's just like, these parents are asking me what kind of college, and I'm like, and I know this kid. There's just no way. I mean, maybe there's some programs at some universities, but as far as a full university experience, no way. And she said, and I just don't understand how the parents don't understand that. And I said, you know what? I think they do understand it. They just don't want to. They don't want to think about it.
They either don't want to admit that it's true, or it's to tell someone, hey, my son's not going to a 4-year school because of his autism. You get the looks, you get the, are you crazy?
Yeah.
He should be going like everybody else. It's the definition of the word normal.
It's still a young.
People don't understand.
Still, the accommodations and stuff are still young. I remember I took an education class in college, and and I'm reading about kids with learning disabilities, and before the year that they started testing for accommodations, students without physical disabilities, was 1984, and that's when I graduated from high school. So
wow, that was probably around the time I started getting tested. And I was in special ed, so
exactly. They started testing right in '84 is when they started testing students without physical disability. That's when they first started. So my senior year, they said, no, Lee, you can't take the tune-up class. We're going to put you in a basic skills class. And I'm like, what? I was so mad. I'm like, you got to be out your mind, because That was the thing. And that's the thing your kids are going to hear, and other people's kids are going to hear these things. You know, my counselor, I'll never forget. I call her out too, Miss Maxwell. She said she was a nice enough lady, but she didn't know how to deal. They didn't know how. No teachers knew how to deal with special education in the normal, like Robinson High School normal education process. They didn't know how to do it, and so they started labeling us things like lazy. Yeah, that's what Max said. She goes, Lee, your IQ is off the charts. You're just being lazy. You obviously know the subject matter, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like going, all right, I'll be lazy then. If that's what it is. If that's what,
and that's the stereotyping. That's the hardest part.
If that's my excuse I can use, then that's what I'll use. I'll just say I'm lazy, you know? And that's how labeling works too. You know, a lot of times when you give somebody a label, like, you know, I don't want kids to feel like that they're autistic or that they're MR. There's some very high functioning. I've worked with some very high functioning kids whose IQs are below 70, but they're very nice kids. And you put down numbers in front of them, they're lost. But just communicating, you'd never know. You know, you'd never know there's an issue there. Obviously, you're talking about kids with Down syndrome, and then there's a look that you can see. But the problem with autism is you don't see anything that looks unusual, and it's like
not unless you know the background on
disabled. You know, that's not true. You look at him; he looks totally normal. Well, okay, great, thank you for that. But no, he's got things he's got to deal with. You know, way more than other kids in his classes, and I think that's we need to make sure the other kids. And I tell you, we had a physical disabled group in Falls Church, and our other kids in our school were just so accepting and very worked with them. And if they dropped a book, you know, the kid reached down and picked it up right away for them, not just walk by them like they didn't exist.
Exactly.
You know, and so there's just lots of stuff we can talk about in the future.
Yeah, we'll talk about another day. All right, Lee. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care. Have a great day. Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the show. We went a little bit long as normal. Jim Lippert, Ross Hager, of course, was listening in. Christina Corte, thank you, Christina. I love you, kid. I wish we could get together and chat. Fred Schwery, and of course, the main man, Tura Arzade. Yes, Billy Riley, thank you, brother. Gotta hit that like button every time you watch though, my friend. I need it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the day. We're going to be rolling out of here. I hope you have a great day. Maybe we'll be on tomorrow morning. We missed this morning. I had a little bit of some health issues, not so much health, but if anybody knows what gout is, it's what I have a little bit suffering. I'm feeling much better here late in the day, but this morning I was not well. So, but I'm feeling a lot better. So, thank you. Always keep me in your prayers because there's lots of reasons. So, stay tuned. We're going to have lots more stuff coming up. No shows this evening. We will have some shows tomorrow evening, but we'll also have Be Encouraged tomorrow morning at 10:30. I'll make sure that I'm on. And then 4:30 tomorrow as well. Thank you very much to Arsala for booking our guest today. And thank you very much to Sergeant Scott Reynolds and to Jerry Hager. Thanks for being on the program today on Be Encouraged. God bless you all, and see you later.
Saying that it feels right.